Hey you, I'm Sarah Turner, a freelance copywriter and copywriting mentor, and I want to talk with you today, real quick, about the pros and cons of being a freelancer. Because being a freelancer is so much different than being an employee. You are in charge, you get to decide what your day looks like, and while that can be really exciting at first, I mean, so many people are drawn to freelancing because of all the flexibility involved. What people quickly find out is that there's a little bit more to it than just sitting around in your pajamas and working from home every day. So, I want to go through what some of the pros and cons are of being a freelancer versus being an employee for maybe an agency or some other business, because I think it's important to be really realistic about it so that you can decide if this is a good fit for you. And I'm actually not talking about just being a freelancer copywriter, but also any freelancing position, freelancing graphic design or being a virtual assistant or social media management. Any type of freelancer is going to have, again, the pros and cons. So I'm actually going to start with the cons first because I want to address those, right? And then we can end on a positive note. So, the first con of being a freelancer, something that really freaks people out and actually is one of the main things that prevents them from even taking a chance of becoming a freelancer in the first place, is the fluctuating income. So, as a freelancer, because you are not generally working hourly, I would recommend against working hourly. Some people do, but I think that it's much better if you work a project-based system because it allows a lot more flexibility for you to maximize your earning potential, really, because you're not tied to how many hours you work. You then can earn more, especially as you become faster and better at your job. Those earnings are passed on to you. But even with that, there is usually some fluctuation in income because it's not hourly, it's not just 40 hours a week, and that can really freak people out, right? So what you'll need to do if you're going to be a freelancer is know that that's part of being a freelancer. And there's a lot that you can do to make sure that you set yourself up for success. First of all, saving for those lower income months is really important as a freelancer. And coming to kind of expect it or know that it's normal helps a lot. Like a lot. So fluctuating income is definitely one of the cons because people tend to really love consistency, right? The brain tends to freak out when there are unknowns. And that can be a big reason that some people won't even try being a freelancer, is the fluctuating income, even if they can earn way more. So the next major con for most people, and this comes from talking to freelancers all day long, working with freelancers very intimately. So the next major con is figuring out things like taxes, health insurance, and the legal aspects of running your own business. Because I really use freelancer and business owner kind of interchangeably, because if you are a freelancer, you really are a business owner if you're doing it right. So people are often very intimidated with finding out about taxes, figuring out how to get their health insurance covered, and get legal things in order. I want to take a second and reassure you about these things. Keep in mind that people are becoming freelancers, leaving their 9-to-5 jobs at literal record rates. The pandemic has caused people to ask for their work to look a little bit more as they want it to fit their lives, and people are leaving the workforce. It's happening all over the place, and honestly, dream come true, because I love when people stand up for themselves and really are the architect of their own career to make it work for them. So I want to reassure you, because I've now helped over 3,000 people navigate starting their own business and become a freelancer. And what I continue to hear from these people is that it's not as scary as you think. It's an unknown. It's something that, you feel a little uncertain about at first. But actually, when you sit down and you do the research, what you will come to find out is that it is so much more manageable than you originally thought. So I'm going to give you a few pieces of advice on these areas. Keep in mind that I am not an accountant and I am not a lawyer. So none of these things are actual legal advice. But to get started, when it comes to taxes, what I generally recommend is that you go ahead and set aside at least 30% to pay your taxes at the end of the year. Your taxes will not be 30% generally. It will be much less, depending on what you actually earn for the year, but it's a nice, safe, cushy number to set aside and make sure you don't touch so that you have enough for taxes. So generally, you want to have everything separate in a business account, and you want to separate out your business from your personal expenses. Signing up for an LLC is usually where people start, and you can do that just by checking out your Secretary of State website and following the instructions on how to set up an LLC. Again, one of those things that feels super intimidating, but then people generally come to find that it takes them an afternoon. And then health insurance, you actually have state exchanges that allow you to compare different insurance policies. I always recommend students get really clear on their finances, like what are your personal expenses each month, your rent, your groceries, whatever. And what does your health insurance look like? And what would it cost to replace it with something comparable? Again, keeping in mind that people are doing this every day. It's really something that is accessible to you. It's probably not nearly as scary as you think it is. It's one of those things that becomes like a looming decision. That's what I like to call them, where they're like a dark cloud that kind of follows you around back here. But as soon as you pull it forward into the light and shine a light on it and actually get really clear about what is necessary, oftentimes we discover that it was much scarier when it was left as an unknown in the back of our mind. And that when we shine a light on it and we deal with it face to face, it's not normally as scary as you think. Again, reminding myself that hundreds of thousands of people are navigating this process on a daily basis, and I can too, really helps me in this area. And then legals, legalities for your business, that's also something that's super figure outable. And you can definitely even hire someone if that makes you feel good to kind of look over things. But there's a ton of amazing advice out there. And there's actually a ton of really wonderful lawyers who have kind of turned into, coaches. I don't know if that's actually exactly what they call themselves, where they actually help freelancers navigate making sure they have a legally sound business. There's a lot of people doing that right now. And so they're not really that hard to find. A simple Google search will usually put you in front of them. And that can give you such a wonderful peace of mind. But again, it's one of those things that is just not as scary. And then the third con of being a freelancer, that as I see it and as I hear students tell me about, is that you're the boss, right? So being the boss is really exciting, but the other thing that's kind of scary about being the boss is that decisions all land squarely on your shoulders, right? So being the boss is exciting, but one of the cons about it is that it means you got to really continue to show up and figure out what works best for you, and that there's nobody just handing you some orders each day of exactly what you're supposed to work on. It also means that you are responsible for cheering yourself on, or at least surrounding yourself with people who will help cheer you on, because there is nothing worse than being your own boss and not taking time to celebrate your wins, because then you're trading your old boss in for a potential worse one. So it's super important to work on mindset for this. Business owner mindset is a forever process, but I will say that the work that I have done on it has made me a better person in all areas of my life. So making sure that you're doing the mindset work, so you're not letting that voice constantly nag you or tell you that you're not good enough, or whatever it is that your voice tells you when it's left unchecked. That's something that absolutely has to be worked on, so that you have a wonderful boss who is encouraging and helping you cultivate the best version of yourself in your work. Okay, so really the biggest thing that was going to help with addressing all those potential cons as a freelancer is mindset work. Truly, nothing has helped me more than having a solid morning routine, working on affirmations, having gratitudes, and really implementing whatever it is I can, whether it's spending 10 minutes every morning reading a personal development book, implementing things in my life that help me be a better boss to myself. So now let's leave on a positive note and let's talk about the pros of being a freelancer because they are pretty amazing and I could never imagine going back. So, first things first, you get to set your own hours. The flexibility and freedom is unparalleled. You can go have lunch with a friend in the middle of the day. You can have a day where, maybe you're struggling with like mental health or physical health and you need a lighter day. Sometimes I'll have days 3 o'clock hits and my brain just gets super foggy and I can't think very clearly anymore. And so I know it's time to go for a walk on the beach, to take Loki out for a walk. So being able to set your own hours means that you don't just have to sit there and slog through work from 9 to 5. You actually get to work with your energy, which I've also found is incredible in unlocking potential like productivity, right? So if I work for an hour when I'm super energized versus an hour when I'm experiencing brain fog, we both know that those hours have completely different outputs rather. And that is because our energy is a very dynamic resource, right? So we can do things like if you do less draining things and more energizing things, you're going to find that you can get so much more done in life. So that's something I also encourage my students is as you are growing as a freelancer, definitely hire people to help you. A virtual assistant who can help you with maybe things that you don't love doing. Maybe it's responding to emails. Maybe it's doing the admin work, like keeping a track of your accounting or whatever it is. When you can do more energizing things and less draining things, I mean, it just spills over into all areas of your life. It's pretty amazing. So you get to set your own hours. That is definitely one of my favorite pros of being a freelancer, which also leads me to my next one, which is you can work from anywhere in the world. So when you're a freelancer, you can take your work with you. I actually just got back from a 7-week trip where I went to Italy, Spain, Amsterdam, and South Africa, and I worked the entire time. So I was able to work from my computer, get my work done in the evenings, and explore all during the day. And this is one of my favorite things about being a freelancer is being able to take your work with you. It's also been extremely powerful and important in my life for when my family or friends have needed me. Maybe they're having a difficult season. There was a time where my sister gave birth to my nephew and I was able to be home with her for a few months and help her care for him when he was brand new, and it was such an important part of my life. So being able to take your work with you is just such an incredible part of being a freelancer and being your own boss. So the next one, a pro of being a freelancer that I just absolutely love, is the sky is the limit when it comes to earning potential. And what I mean by that is, again, there are other elements that play a role in this, like not working hourly. Tying your income to hourly work is going to limit you in this area. But if you're charging on a project basis, truly the sky is the limit when it comes to your earning potential. And as you become more skilled, more experienced, and provide higher value work for your clients, you're going to be able to earn more. And that is just something that is super important to me because it gives me more flexibility and freedom. It also gives me a sense of stability and security, knowing that I'll be able to provide for my family, right? So then this brings me to the final pro, although there are lots more, I'm sure, is that you're the boss. Right? So that was one of the cons, but it's also a pro. And that is because being your own boss, especially if you're doing mindset work, is one of the most empowering things that I have ever experienced in my life. I used to be so embarrassed of what I did for work. And whenever I would go out or meet new people, it was the first thing that people would ask me, "What's your name? What do you do?" And I would always cringe a little because I was so not in alignment with the work that I was doing. And now being my own boss and having the opportunity to, when somebody says, like, "What do you do for work?" and being able to respond, "I own a marketing agency," is just one of the things in life that has helped me with my own confidence. And it's really been a process because that's not where I started. I started out crying a lot, not knowing if I would make it as a copywriter, not knowing if it was a pipe dream and I was being foolish. doubting my work, being scared to talk to clients, dreading client calls, flushing bright red when I would hop on the phone with people because I was just such a mess. And so it just is one of those things that if you keep putting one foot in front of the other and you keep showing up and you definitely take the mindset work seriously, you can be in a completely different place in just under a year, truly. The biggest transformations for me really took place in about a year. And then obviously it's been, an upward trajectory since then. So I want to encourage you, if you are thinking about being a freelancer, another thing that's amazing about this is that you can actually start on the side, right? You can start being a freelancer on the side and you can slowly grow your business alongside your job until you're feeling ready to quit and make that transition. So I hope that if you have been considering being a freelancer, this helps you shift your perspective a little bit, because truly I think it's one of the best decisions I've ever made, and I continue to hear from students that it's one of the best decisions that they've made. So I hope this helps. If it does, please hit that thumbs up button. I would love to hear from you in the comments. What's holding you back from being a freelancer? What fears do you have? And I want to reassure you that they're all super normal. And of course, please don't forget to subscribe, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.